Dr. Victoria Sterling brushed a strand of auburn hair from her sweat-dampened forehead as she carefully examined the crystalline formation jutting from the alien soil. The twin suns of Kepler 4:4 to be cast an ethereal glow across the barren landscape, making the mysterious artifact shimmer like captured starlight. Her heart raced with the thrill of discovery, something she had dedicated her entire career as a xenobiologist to experience. "This is incredible," she whispered into her device, her voice trembling with excitement. "The geometric patterns are unlike anything in our databases." Her research team worked methodically around the excavation site, their movements precise and careful. Victoria had insisted on personally handling the most delicate aspects of the dig. She had a reputation for being hands-on with her research, often to the frustration of her more cautious colleagues back on Earth. The artifact stood nearly 8 feet tall, its surface smooth as polished glass, yet warm to the touch. Strange symbols flickered beneath its translucent exterior, pulsing with a soft blue light that seemed to respond to Victoria's presence. Each time she moved closer, the glow intensified, as if the ancient relic recognized something within her. "Dr. Sterling," called out her field assistant, Trevor, from across the dig site. "The electromagnetic readings are spiking again. We should establish a wider perimeter." Victoria waved him off, too engrossed in her work to worry about precautions. She had spent 3 years convincing the Colonial Science Council to fund this expedition to the Outer Rim. She wasn't about to let excessive caution rob her of the discovery of a lifetime. As she pressed her gloved hand against the artifact's surface, the symbols beneath suddenly blazed with brilliant light. The crystal hummed with an energy that seemed to resonate in her very bones. Victoria gasped, feeling a strange tingling. Sensation spread through her body, starting from her fingertips and racing toward her heart. The air around the excavation site began to shimmer, distorting like heat waves rising from sun-baked pavement. Victoria's team stopped their work, looking around nervously as an otherworldly presence seemed to descend upon them. The very atmosphere grew thick and oppressive, charged with an energy that made their skin crawl. Then he appeared, materializing from the shimmering air like a mirage becoming real. The figure that emerged was breathtakingly alien, yet undeniably magnificent. Tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to glow with an inner light, he moved with fluid grace that defied the planet's gravity. His features were angular and refined, possessing an otherworldly beauty that made Victoria's breath catch in her. Through his eyes, a striking violet that seemed to swirl with galaxies, fixed immediately upon her. When their gazes met, Victoria felt something fundamental shift within her consciousness. It was as if invisible threads were suddenly connecting her mind to his, creating a bridge between 2 entirely different forms of existence. "You have awakened the beacon," he spoke, his voice resonating with harmonics that seemed to bypass her ears and speak directly to her soul. Though his lips moved differently than a human's would, Victoria understood every word with perfect clarity. "I am Zephyr of the Luminar. You have called to me across the void." Victoria's team scrambled for their weapons, but their movements seemed sluggish, as if they were moving through thick syrup. Zephyr raised one elegant hand, and the humans froze mid-motion, their faces blank and peaceful. Only Victoria remained unaffected, though she could feel something pressing against the edges of her consciousness, trying to slip past her mental defenses. "What have you done to them?" she demanded, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice, despite the fear coursing through her veins. Zephyr stepped closer, his movements hypnotic and deliberate. "They are unharmed, merely sleeping while we speak. Your mind, however, resists my influence. How curious. How delightfully unexpected." Victoria backed away, her scientific training warring with a growing sense of danger. "Stay away from me. I don't know what you are, but I won't let you hurt my team." A smile played at the corners of Zephyr's lips, revealing teeth that gleamed like pearls. "Hurt them? I have no interest in your companions. Your neural patterns sing to me like a siren's call. In all my centuries of existence, I have never encountered a mind quite like yours." "How do you know my name?" Victoria's voice betrayed the first hint of real fear. "The beacon has shown me much about you," Zephyr replied, gesturing toward the still glowing artifact. "Your thoughts, your dreams, your deepest desires. You seek knowledge of the universe, do you not?" You hunger for experiences beyond the mundane existence of your kind. I can offer you wonders beyond your wildest imagination. Victoria felt a strange pull toward this alien being, something that went beyond mere curiosity. There was a magnetism about him that seemed to call to something primal within her, a longing she had never fully understood until this moment. She shook her head, trying to clear the fog that seemed to be creeping into her thoughts. I won't be manipulated by whatever powers you possess, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Zephyr extended his hand toward her, and Victoria could see that his fingers were longer than a human's, ending in what appeared to be crystalline growths rather than fingernails. I offer no manipulation, only truth. You feel it, do you not? The connection between us? Our species may be young, but occasionally one of you possesses the rare neural configuration that can bond with my kind. You are such a one, Victoria Sterling. Despite every instinct screaming at her to run, Victoria found herself taking a step toward him. The alien's presence was intoxicating, filling her with sensations she had never experienced. It was as if he was awakening parts of her consciousness that had lain dormant her entire life. This is impossible, she whispered, even as she felt herself drawn deeper into his influence. Humans and aliens can't have this kind of connection. It goes against everything we know about interspecies psychology. Your human science has much to learn, Zephyr said softly, now close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his luminescent skin. There are forces in the universe that transcend the boundaries your kind has established. Love, desire, the meeting of compatible souls. These are universal constants that exist beyond the limitations of biology. When he reached out to touch her face, Victoria felt her last reserves of resistance crumble. His touch was electric, sending waves of pleasure through her body that seemed to ignite every nerve ending. She had never experienced anything so intense, so completely overwhelming. Please, she whispered, though she was no longer certain what she was pleading for. I can't leave my team, my work, my life. Zephyr's violet eyes seemed to peer directly into her soul. Your life as you knew it ended the moment you awakened the beacon. You belong to me now, Victoria Sterling. Not as a prisoner, but as something far more precious. You will be my queen, my eternal companion among the stars. As consciousness began to slip away from her, Victoria felt herself being lifted into Zephyr's arms. The last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was the concerned faces of her frozen teammates, still trapped in their unnatural sleep. Her final thought was a mixture of terror and anticipation for what awaited her in the vast unknown of space. The excavation site fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the alien artifact, still glowing with the light of distant galaxies, waiting for the next soul brave enough to unlock its secrets. Victoria's consciousness returned slowly. It's like emerging from the depths of a dream that felt more real than waking life. Her eyelids fluttered open to reveal a ceiling that defied every law of physics she understood. Above her stretched a canopy of living crystal that pulsed with soft rhythmic light, as if the very walls breathed with an alien heartbeat. She found herself lying on what could only be described as a bed, though its surface felt like nothing she had ever experienced. The material seemed to mold itself perfectly to her body's contours, providing support while remaining impossibly soft. As she sat up, the fabric of her clothing had been replaced by a garment that felt like liquid silk. Against her skin, shimmering with an opalescent sheen that shifted colors with her movements. You are awake at last, came Zephyr's melodious voice from somewhere beyond her vision. I was beginning to worry that the transition had been too overwhelming for your human nervous system. Victoria spun around to locate the source of his voice, her heart racing as memories of their encounter flooded back. She found him standing near what appeared to be a window, though instead of glass, it was a membrane of pure energy that offered a breathtaking view of the cosmos beyond. Stars wheeled past in slow, majestic arcs, indicating they were aboard some kind of spacecraft moving through space at impossible speeds. Where are my teammates? She demanded, surprised by how steady her voice sounded despite the tremor of fear. Running through her body? What have you done with them? Zephyr turned toward her, his violet eyes reflecting the starlight from the energy window. Liquid mercury. When he moved, the fabric caught and reflected light in ways that made him appear almost ethereal. "Your companions are safe," he assured her, taking a step closer. "They remain on the planet's surface, their memories adjusted to believe you were lost in a survey accident. By now they have likely called for rescue and returned to their ship. They will mourn you, but they will not suffer." Victoria felt a surge of anger at his casual dismissal of her friend's well-being. "You had no right to take me from them, from my life. I have responsibilities, people who depend on me." "Your old life was a prison," Zephyr replied, his voice taking on a hypnotic quality that made Victoria's pulse quicken despite her anger. "You spent your days buried in laboratories and archives, dreaming of discoveries you might never make. Here with me, you can explore wonders beyond your species' imagination." As he spoke, the walls around them began to shift and change, displaying images that took Victoria's breath away. She saw cities that floated among the clouds of gas giants, their spires reaching toward alien suns. Gardens filled with flowers that sang in harmonious choirs, their petals opening to reveal cores of pure light. Oceans of liquid crystal where beings of pure energy danced in patterns too beautiful for human eyes to fully comprehend. "This is my realm," Zephyr said, his voice now seeming to come from all around her. "The Luminari have traveled the cosmos for millions of your years, collecting beauty and knowledge from across the galaxy. I offer to share all of this with you, Victoria Sterling. You need only accept what you already feel growing between us." Victoria could feel it, the connection he spoke of. It was like a warm current flowing between them, growing stronger with each passing moment. When she looked into his eyes, she saw depths that contained the wisdom of ages, the loneliness of immortality, and something else that made her heart race with possibilities she had never dared to imagine. "I can feel you fighting the bond," Zephyr observed, moving closer until she could feel the warmth radiating from his luminescent skin. "Your human nature demands resistance, but your soul recognizes its mate. Why do you torture yourself with denial?" "Because this is impossible," Victoria whispered, though her body betrayed her words by swaying toward him. "Humans don't bond with aliens. We're too different, too incompatible." Zephyr reached out to cup her face in his hands, his touch sending waves of pleasure through her that made her knees weak. "Compatibility is not about biology, my dear one. It's about the resonance of souls across the void. Your neural patterns harmonize with mine in ways that occur perhaps once in 1,000 generations. Do you truly believe such a miracle should be wasted on fear?" Victoria found herself leaning into his touch, her scientific mind warring with sensations that seemed to rewrite her very understanding of existence. "What happens to me if I accept this bond? Do I remain human, or do I become something else?" "You become more than human," Zephyr replied, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her cheek. "The bond will awaken abilities within you that your species has not yet evolved to possess. We'll share in my longevity, my knowledge, my power over the fundamental forces of the universe. But you will remain Victoria Sterling, the brilliant woman who dared to touch an alien artifact despite the danger." As he spoke, Victoria felt the walls of her resistance crumbling. The logical part of her mind that had always governed her decisions seemed to be drowning in waves of sensation and emotion that felt both foreign and utterly right. She had spent her entire life seeking knowledge of the universe, and here was a being offering her experiences beyond her wildest dreams. "Show me," she whispered, surprised by her own boldness. "Show me what you're offering." Zephyr's smile was radiant as he pressed his forehead against hers. A moment their skin made contact. Victoria's consciousness exploded outward, merging with his in a way that defied description. She felt his memories flowing into her mind like a river of liquid starlight, showing her civilizations that had risen and fallen before Earth's sun was born. Beings of pure thought who crafted worlds from their dreams and the terrible beauty of cosmic forces that shaped galaxies like a sculptor molding clay. But more than the wonders he showed her, she felt his emotions, his thoughts, his deepest desires. Experienced his centuries of loneliness. Searching the cosmos for someone who could understand the weight of immortality, she felt his joy. At finding her, his relief at no longer being alone and beneath it all. a love so profound it seemed to reshape the very fabric of reality around them. When the connection finally stabilized, Victoria found herself gasping, her body trembling from the intensity of the experience. She looked up at Zephyr with new understanding, seeing him not as an alien captor, but as a being who had waited eons for her to exist. "I feel it now," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "The connection, the bond. It's like I've been incomplete my entire life and never realized it." Zephyr pulled her closer, his arms encircling her with a gentleness that belied his otherworldly power. "You understand now why I could not simply let you return to your old life. What we share transcends the boundaries of species, of worlds, of time itself. You are my queen, my equal, my eternal companion." Victoria felt herself surrendering to the inevitable, her last reservations melting away like ice in sunlight. "What about my people? Will I ever see Earth again?" "When you are ready," Zephyr promised, his lips brushing against her ear in a way that sent shivers through her entire being. "When you have learned to control the powers the bond will give you, we will return to your world. But you will go not as Dr. Victoria Sterling, researcher, but as something far greater. You will be a bridge between our species, a herald of a new age of cooperation and understanding." As if responding to their emotional connection, the chamber around them began to glow more brightly, the living crystal walls pulsing in rhythm with their heartbeats. Victoria realized that the ship itself was somehow alive, responding to Zephyr's emotions and now, through their bond, to hers as well. "And the vessel recognizes you," Zephyr explained, his voice filled with wonder. "It has been waiting for someone worthy to share its consciousness with me. You are changing everything, Victoria Sterling. It's not just for me, but for my entire people." Victoria looked around at the responsive walls, feeling a sense of belonging she had never experienced in her human life. For the first time since awakening, she allowed herself to smile, and the entire chamber brightened in response to her joy. "Then show me more," she said, her voice now filled with eager anticipation rather than fear. "Show me what it means to be Queen of the Stars." 3 months had passed since Victoria's transformation began aboard Zephyr's crystalline vessel. She had grown to love the endless dance of stars outside her window. Her human form had subtly changed, her skin now carrying a faint luminescence that matched her alien lover's radiance. Her auburn hair had taken on streaks of silver that caught light like captured starfire, and her eyes held depths that spoke of cosmic wisdom far beyond her years. She stood on the observation deck, watching nebulae spiral in colors that had no names in human language, when the ship's living consciousness alerted her to an approaching vessel. Her enhanced senses, gifts from her deepening bond with Zephyr, immediately identified the approaching craft as human in origin. "My love." Zephyr's voice reached her through their mental connection before he appeared beside her in a shimmer of displaced light. "Your people have found us." Victoria's heart clenched with a mixture of joy and sorrow. Through the energy membrane that served as their window, she could see the familiar angular lines of a colonial fleet destroyer, its hull scarred from countless journeys through the void. Her enhanced vision could even make out the ship's designation, used defiant Captain Jonas Blake commanding. "Jonas," she whispered, memories of her former colleague flooding through her enhanced consciousness. The tall, steadfast captain who had always harbored feelings for her that she had been too focused on her research to notice. Now, seeing his ship approach, she felt the weight of the choice that had been inevitable from the moment she first touched Zephyr's hand. "He has come for you," Zephyr observed, his mental voice carrying no jealousy, only understanding. "This human male, he cares for you deeply. I can sense his emotions even from this distance." Victoria turned to face the being who had become her universe, her transformation, her destiny. Zephyr stood bathed in the light of distant stars, more beautiful than any human man could ever be, yet she could see the uncertainty in his violet eyes. Despite his cosmic powers, despite their soul-deep bond, he feared losing her to the call of her former life. "The choice must be yours," he said aloud, his voice carrying the weight of eons. "I will not hold you against your will, even though releasing you would tear the very fabric of my existence." Before Victoria could respond, the ship's communication system activated. and Jonas Blake's familiar voice filled the chamber. Unknown. Vessel, this is Captain Blake of the Colonial Fleet. We have reason to believe you are holding Dr. Victoria Sterling against her will. Respond immediately or we will be forced to take action. Victoria moved to the communication panel, her fingers dancing over controls that had become as familiar to her as breathing. The system responded to her touch with eager warmth, recognizing her as Zephyr's chosen mate and equal. Jonas, this is Victoria, she said, her voice carrying new harmonics that spoke of her transformation. I'm safe. More than safe. I'm exactly where I belong. The silence from the human ship stretched for long moments before Jonas's voice returned, tight, with emotion. Victoria, we thought you were dead. Your team reported you missing after some kind of accident. We've been searching for 3 months. I know, Victoria replied gently, and I'm sorry for the pain my disappearance caused. But I need you to understand, Jonas. I wasn't taken against my will. I chose this. Chose what? Jonas's voice cracked with barely contained anguish. Victoria, whatever they've done to you, whatever they've made you believe, we can fix it. We can bring you home. Victoria felt Zephyr's presence beside her, his love flowing through their bond like warm honey. She placed her hand over his, feeling the crystalline growths that had replaced his fingernails, now as familiar and beloved as her own heartbeat. Home, she repeated softly. Jonas, I understand why you came. I understand why you think you need to save me. But I need you to listen, really listen, to what I'm telling you. She paused, gathering her thoughts, feeling the weight of 2 worlds. In her words, I found something here that I never even knew I was searching for. Not just knowledge, not just discovery, but completion. I've bonded with a being whose very existence has transformed me into something more than I ever dreamed. Possible. Bonded. Jonas's voice was sharp with disbelief. Victoria, you're talking about some kind of alien brainwashing. This isn't you. It's more me than I've ever been. Victoria replied, her voice gaining strength. I can feel the cosmos singing. In my veins, Jonas, I can touch the fundamental forces that hold reality together. I've seen the birth of stars and the dreams of civilizations that predate humanity by millions of years. I've found my purpose, my destiny, my love. Through the viewport, she could see the Defiant's weapon systems powering up, and she felt Zephyr. Tense beside her, the ship's defensive systems began to hum with deadly energy, but she placed a calming hand on his arm. Stand down, Jonas, she said firmly. If you fire on this ship, you'll be declaring war on a being who could reduce your vessel to cosmic dust with a thought. But more than that, you'll be attacking the man I love. The man you love? Jonas's voice was hollow with defeat. Victoria, it's not human. How can you love something so alien? Victoria smiled, the expression causing her luminescent skin to glow brighter. Love isn't about species, Jonas. It's about connection, understanding, the meeting of compatible souls. Zephyr has shown me wonders beyond imagination, but more than that, he's shown me parts of myself I never knew existed. She turned to look at Zephyr, seeing her own transformation reflected in his adoring gaze. He's made me more than human, Jonas, not less. I can think faster, feel deeper, understand concepts that would have been impossible for my limited human consciousness to grasp. And in return, I've given him something his people had forgotten, the ability to love without reservation, to hope without limit, to dream of futures that extend beyond mere survival. This is our answer to the universe, Zephyr spoke, his voice now audible to the human ship. Not conquest, not domination, but unity. Your Victoria is the first of what could be many bridges between our species. She represents the possibility of a future where human passion and luminary wisdom combine to create something unprecedented. Jonas's voice, when it came, was thick with unshed tears. Victoria, I loved you. I still love you. Come back to us. Come back to me. Victoria felt her heart break for the man who had traveled across the galaxy to save her, even as she knew her choice was already made. Jonas, I loved you too, in my own way. You were dear to me, and you always will be. But what I feel for Zephyr, transcends anything I ever thought possible. It's written in the stars themselves, in the quantum foam that underlies reality. It's destiny, Jonas. Cosmic destiny. She paused, feeling Zephyr's love flowing through their bond like liquid starlight. Someday, when humanity is ready, when your people have evolved beyond their fear of the unknown, Zephyr and I will return to Earth. Not as conquerors, but as ambassadors. We'll help humanity take its next evolutionary step to become something greater than either of our species could achieve alone. The communication channel fell silent for long minutes. Victoria could feel Jonas's anguish across the void, his love and loss mingling in the cosmic background radiation. Finally, his voice returned, hollow but resigned. "I understand," he said, quietly. "I don't like it. I don't fully comprehend it, but I understand. You've made your choice, and I have to respect that. But Victoria, if you ever need us, if you ever want to come home, we'll be waiting." "I know," Victoria whispered, tears streaming down her luminescent cheeks. "Thank you, Jonas, for everything. For loving me, for coming to save me, for letting me go. Take care of yourself and tell my family that I'm happy, happier than I've ever been." The Defiance weapon systems powered down, and the ship began to turn away from Zephyr's vessel. Victoria watched it go, feeling a chapter of her life close as another. Infinitely more wondrous one continued to unfold. Zephyr moved behind her, his arms encircling her waist as they watched the human ship disappear into the star-filled void. "Do you regret your choice?" he asked softly. Victoria leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his alien heart. "Never," she said without hesitation. "I've found my place in the universe, Zephyr. With you, exploring the cosmos, learning its secrets, growing into something neither human nor luminary, but something entirely new." "Then let us begin our true journey," Zephyr said, his voice filled with infinite love and possibility. "Together, we will explore the farthest reaches of space and time. We will discover civilizations yet unborn, witness the birth of new galaxies, and perhaps find others like us. Beings who have transcended the boundaries of their origins through love." The ship responded to their combined will, its crystalline hull singing with harmonics that spoke of adventure and discovery. As they accelerated beyond the speed of light, Victoria felt her consciousness expand to encompass the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. In the months that followed, they did indeed find others, beings from dozens of species who had formed bonds that transcended biology. They discovered that love was not a human concept or a luminary gift, but a fundamental force of the universe itself. As basic and powerful as gravity or electromagnetism, Victoria became the first human to achieve true cosmic consciousness. Her transformed mind, capable of understanding the deepest mysteries of existence. But more than that, she became the mother of a new kind of being, as she and Zephyr created offspring who carried the best traits of both species. Destined to bridge the gap between countless worlds, years later, when humanity had matured enough to accept the truth of their cosmic destiny, Victoria and Zephyr returned to Earth as promised. They came not as conquerors, but as guides, helping humanity take its next evolutionary step toward joining the galactic community of sentient beings. And in the depths of space, where new stars were born from the dreams of lovers, their story became legend-proof that love truly was the most powerful force in the universe, capable of transforming not just individuals, but entire civilizations. The artifact that had started it all continued to glow on that distant world, waiting for the next brave soul to touch its surface and discover that some destinies are written in the stars themselves, waiting only for the courage to reach out and claim them.